move on quickly. So, take questions from yeah, lady in the pink, yeah.
It was really lovely to see that presentation and all those amazing pictures from a different perspective from pictures that we normally see growing up. Perhaps it's a really obvious and silly question to ask a professional photographer, but how did you manage to catch people unaware in worship? Or were they just so engrossed in worship that they didn't want to see you taking their picture?
Yeah, I mean it's easier when people are outside, but obviously in the Prophet's Mosque, I'm always, or even in the Kaaba, I'm always a bit sensitive. But usually I photograph people that are not interested in having a selfie done, but are actually speaking to God, so they usually don't notice me. So. And a long lens helps.
I mean, just the extension of that, how is it when you're then taking pictures to actually focus on your own worship, or do you go then separately on a separate thing that I'm going to take pictures?
I made a decision many years ago to not, if I'm doing the Hajj, I won't photograph it. And if I'm photographing, I wouldn't try and do the Hajj, because the two things you're competing against. I mean, Hajj is about being at certain places at certain times. And you might end up in debit rather than credit, so.
The the pictures at the start of your two films,
yes.
They weren't photographs, they were drawings, the sketches.
A lot of it, yeah.
Who did those then?
They're from all various sources,
right.
And some were done for a documentary about how the Prophet's ﷺ, how his house grew. So that was an animation that was done based on historical knowledge. But there's some pretty wild stuff. I found an incredible picture by a French artist. It was meant to be a drawing of the mosque in Medina, and it had people walking around with greyhound dogs and in nice clothes. I don't know what they thought was going on in Medina. It looked like some Versailles palace or something. Yeah, people have very vivid imagination, but people actually never went there.
Question? Yep.
Slightly unrelated. It's superb as usual. But my question was, when is Meetings with Mountains coming?
The inevitable question, yes. I'm scared to say anymore because I've said sort of next year. Those that you know about designing, it's actually in design, so it means it is being designed. But we're still struggling with the text a little bit because I'm not a writer, I'm a photographer. But I've been working with an editor for a year. But some of the text towards the end of the book is still a bit bulky, so we're just chopping it down. But it's getting there slowly. But,
you maybe give like a 30-second for people who don't know about the project.
Sorry, Meetings with Mountains is a 45-year project about saints and spiritually, what is commonly termed in New Age language as hex, highly evolved beings in the Islamic world. And I've been doing this since I became a Muslim, and whenever I heard about these people like Ibn Battuta, I would go and meet them and ask for their du'as, but he didn't have a camera, I do. But the thing is about these people is that most of them do not like to be photographed, not because they believe photography is haram, that's not their reasoning. Their humility does not allow them to be exalted in any way. So it's been quite a challenge to photograph them, and even to get people to speak about them, that's been even more harder. But anyway, it's a book, it'll be about 380 pages, and it has a lot of people in it. And I pray I will finish it soon. Because so many people email me and say, we're fed up waiting for this book, when's it coming out? But there's no, I don't say anymore. I haven't got a publisher yet anyway, so... but it's coming, inshallah. We need it. This is the time for it. With all what's going on in the world, in the Muslim world, we need to see these faces of light and luminosity, and you know, they're important, really important. And so the book will come out at its right time. That's all I know. I'm out of the process now.
Yeah, lady at the back there.
How many pictures did you have to take for each book before you narrow it down to the ones that you selected?
Oh my goodness. You know, I have 250,000 transparencies. That's before I started doing digital. So in the shade of the tree was the selection from that. But I mean, as I keep discovering things, so it's nice about, a lot of times you do photo shoots and then you just throw them away and then you discover them later. I'm now rediscovering all my 60s stuff. So. But yeah, it's interesting. I was talking about the shadow of the clock tower because Ben Salim is here, who worked on that film. So he said there's footage of it, but it reminded me that the Prophet ﷺ said that he had seen this shadow falling across the Kaaba, and they said, "How is that possible? There's nothing, you know, because all the buildings were low and there was no mountains nearby to cast a shadow." So they couldn't understand how he saw this shadow, which is now the time we're living in, with this shadow falling across the... It's amazing. That's why the picture is important. Everything happens for a reason. We should never forget that. There are signs on the horizon, in ourselves and on the horizon. And it's all, you know, the Prophet ﷺ saw all this in his visions and things. So he predicted everything that's happening.
If I may, a question, in terms of your time now, how much time is spent actually sort of, I would say, want a better phrase, sort of looking for new material, and how much is effectively just trying to maximise on all the material you've got? And would you like to, in a sense, have more time to take more pictures effectively? You find yourself a lot more focused on sort of publishing?
Well, I'm trying to do something with it, because I've done all this material and up to now I've only produced 2 books, so Meetings will be the next book. We're hoping to do a book on Muslims in China. We're currently working on a book on Morocco, and I'm being persuaded to do a book on my 60s stuff, and next year is the 50th anniversary of the Summer of Love, so maybe we could have like a similar thing with the Muslims without the drugs, maybe, I don't know. I am pushing this forward. What else is there? I mean, there's a lot, but I like doing stuff. I like to do stuff I haven't done before. I did an interesting photo shoot this week, which was a photo session of modest fashion. In the 60s, it probably would have been a fashion shoot of immodest fashion. But this was very interesting, and you know, there was a girl there who's got like 100 million people on her blog. I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, it's kind of interesting though, whatever you think about it. I mean, it's young people proud that they're Muslim and proud to just be modest in their dress. I mean, there are various versions of what modest is, but it's a choice, you know, at least it's a choice. And I found it was really interesting. The Daily Telegraph is doing a 3-minute film about it, so once it's finished, we'll put it up on Facebook and you can see it. But they interviewed a lot of these people that are involved in the modest fashion movement, and it's nice to see women proud to be Muslim. So yeah, so I did that this week, which was quite interesting, and I haven't done a fashion shoot for 50 years. So yeah.
Sorry.
Welcome to that.
Just wanted to ask a fairly sort of sensitive question about the Hajj itself. Given what's currently happening, I mean, there are proof now that the Saudis are conducting security programs aligned with very, what can I say, G4S, which is their very speculative background in what they do in terms of their background in Palestine, occupied Palestine. A lot of people are saying that they don't want to go to Hajj and Umrah. Also, given the fact that this new extension and also the destruction of some of the very special places like the library that you showed on your screenshot. What are your thoughts, and what is there any advice that you can give people who are kind of thinking that they're very troubled to travel across there to do the Hajj or the Umrah, given what's happening currently?
I wouldn't let politics get into it. It's the journey for God, and you must remember that. I think the point about Hajj was before, when people travelled, the difficulty was in the journey. Now the journey is easy. The difficulty is when you're there, to remember that you're in a sacred place with KFC and all the modern and the clock tower and all that. You just spend your time looking at all this stuff, cursing it or celebrating whatever your opinion is of it all. But you're supposed to be there to remember God. It's His house, you know, and it's you know, we should do it if you can. You know, it's really important. And if you haven't done anything wrong, it doesn't matter who's filming you or what they're watching, what they're doing. It's fine. I pity the poor people who have to sit and watch all this stuff all the time, or listen to us on our telephones. Really, must be so boring for them. Yeah. I mean, it's just we have to be careful not to make that. God is our business, really, and that's our priority, and we have to remember that. I read this thing the other day. We have a choice every second of the day, whether to fear or to trust in God. That's our situation every day, every minute of the day, every second of the day. And that's our jihad. Nothing else. It's as easy as that. Yes.
You showed one photo where you showed a woman or a girl, and you mentioned the fact there was limited water shortage at that time.
Yeah.
But I thought the well of Zamzam was unlimited.
Yeah. Then this is just outside, away from the.
Oh, away from.
I'm just talking
right.
about in Mecca generally. Yeah, of course, the Zamzam, there's always masses of it at the time of Hajj, but they're just around the city of Mecca. At that time, there was shortage of water. It's in 1971, 72. There weren't even toilets when I did the Hajj. I mean, it's amazing how much facilities there now we take for granted. It was tough. It was tough. And can you imagine what it was like way back? It was a difficult journey. But I'm saying the difficulty now is you're in this place and just to remember where you are. Yeah.
Have you ever visited Bangladesh?
I haven't yet, no. I'm working my way. I finally went to Pakistan this year. So it's on my list.
Lady at the back?
Yes.
I was just going to ask you, sorry, you know the picture that you've taken, were you given the opportunity in Makkah and Medina to go inside the Kaaba? And also, I know there may be a picture that you may not have put up, but you may have taken there. And also into the Prophet's Mosque, I've never seen the pictures from the outside. Were you able to get any closer?
No, I mean, I've been allowed. I've never been inside the Kaaba. I missed my one opportunity when they were doing certain work on it, and I was allowed in the Rauda, but very few people have been allowed in the actual inside the Kuba, where the Prophet ﷺ is buried. There's one man who's in the book Meetings with Mountains who was allowed to go in there and clean inside there, and he's on the cover of the book. And I asked him, using my literal photographic mind, I said to him, actually, what's inside there? And he said, light. So I thought he misunderstood me. So I said, no, what's actually inside there? He said, light. So I asked him again 3 times. He said, light. And he said, if you have darkness in your heart, you'll never see it. So that's what's inside the Prophet's tomb. Yes?
Can I ask another question?
Yes.
I've got my daughter here with me, and she's thinking of taking on photography. Do you have any tips for someone who wants to start in photography?
I was going to say don't do it for a living. But if you want to have fun and travel the world, it's a great thing to do. I'm so lucky and so fortunate to have done it, and the places I've been and the things I've seen and the people I've met. I wouldn't do anything else. But as far as the livelihood is, you have to speak to my wife about that. Yes.
Sorry, I might have missed this when at the start, I was slightly late. Correct me if I'm wrong, did you say that when you went for your first Hajj, you were a Muslim, alhamdulillah, for 3 months?
Yeah.
So then, I find it amazing that you went for Hajj after being Muslim for 3 months. So what prompted you to go, I mean, just being Muslim for 3 months?
There was a slight, my teacher, or my sheikh at that time, who I just met, who was nearly 100 years old in Morocco, and I heard that he was going to go through Hajj. So I thought, if he's going to go and do a Hajj, I want to do a Hajj. And I didn't have any money, and I wasn't quite sure how I was going to do it. And then one evening, some friends came to me and they said, we have 7 tickets to go on Hajj and only 6 of us. So Bismillah, they gave me a ticket. So I went on Hajj. And then while I was at the Kaaba, we found out that Sheikh Mohammed ibn Habib had died on his way to Mecca. So it's interesting that I went there hoping to see him and found God instead. So that was an interesting thing. And then I mentioned that, you know, I thought, well, I'm a photographer, I should photograph it. So. And yeah, it was interesting.
I think that anecdote is a nice place to end, actually. Thank you very much. Just a few sort of announcements in terms of future events. We've got an event on the 21st, which is Lessons Learned from Genocide, which is joint with West London Synagogue, J Core and Remembering Srebrenica. It's part of our Remembering Srebrenica campaign we've been involved in over the last few months. And then on the 29th of September, we've got our Eid party at St. Ethelberg's Church. Details on the website to purchase tickets. I do believe there's an early bird discount if you book early, so we do recommend that as well. And just to repeat, Peter's books are for sale at the back, and they are on a discount as well. I think the Art of Integration is at £30, normally it's £45. And again, depending if time's available, you may be able to get Peter to sign it as well. But thank you very much, Peter, for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you, everybody.